I got a bad feeling about this.
Hello there, and welcome to my final video in my Jedi 101, Your First Steps video series, where I have been reading from my book, Your First Step into a Larger World, an introduction to walking the Jedi Path. Now, we finished all the chapters of this book in the previous 11 videos, and in this 12th video, what I'm going to share as some bonus content is my first step. Almost 15 years ago, in 2005, I got wind of the Jedi census phenomena. And I thought to myself, well, why not? Why couldn't Jedi be a real religion? And I did not look for other Jedi at this point. I wanted to see, in my own hubris and ego, if I'm completely honest, if I could create from scratch a Jedi religion and what it would look like. And so that was my first step in 2005, in July of 2005. As I record this, it's May 18th, 2020. So close to 15 years. We'll just call it 15. What's a couple months? Anyway, so I'm going to read this essay that I wrote, and instead of what my usual deal in the previous videos where I read the entire chapter and then comment on it, I'm going to take a break about every paragraph and comment on it, and we'll see the ideas I had 15 years ago and compared to the previous videos of the 101 and stuff at my website, and now in my Jedi Path Learners program that I've just launched. Information on my website, JediPath.org. Well, let's just dive into it and let's see. Okay, reading the establishment of a Jedi religion, July 6, 2005. I wanted to be a Jedi since I first heard the word that spring afternoon in 1977. I was 5 years old, and Star Wars gave a mythological template through which I have seen the world and the moral issues in my life for the past 28 years. Though not only the symbol set that lives in the mythological center of my mind, but probably the strongest, having been impressed upon me at age of 5 and continually reinforced since then. One may worry about basing one's religion on a work of fiction, yet one could argue that every religion is based thus. The followers of a religion will likely say the basis of the religion is based in truth. I put truth in all caps. This is not to say that a religion is based on fact. Again, fact in all caps. Absolute historical accuracy is not needed for a scriptural truth. The fictions that may be contained in a holy work are what I would call a true fiction. Again, all in caps. I was being dramatic. As I have said before about many myths, these things may have never happened, but they are absolutely true. Absolutely true in all caps. Okay. So I think that's the last where I'm emphasizing using all caps. I saw Star Wars when I was 5 years old in 1977, and it gave me a moral framework because it was a myth, it was a fairy tale about good and evil. And as I played with my Star Wars action figures or pretended to be a Jedi on the kindergarten playground, and as well, much beyond kindergarten, I must admit, I was wrestling with, as a child does through play, with moral dilemmas and decision making, and what it means to be a hero. And so this idea of being a Jedi really was set before me in my early childhood. And so about Star Wars being fiction, I was being a bit facetious. But many religious traditions are ahistorical, though many will argue with that. But I say it doesn't matter. What matters is the moral truth that we can get from the stories. And whether it's the life of the Buddha or Confucius or Muhammad or Jesus Christ, these stories have a moral truth to them. And people have successfully based their life on it. And it doesn't matter if it's historical. Some will disagree, especially Christians. But it doesn't matter if it's historical because it teaches, a higher truth. And there's no reason why Star Wars can't do that, or other things as well. But, this is a Jedi channel, so we're going to concentrate on Star Wars. So, real mythology, as we know, George Lucas studied the work of Joseph Campbell, a great mythicist, and this was intentionally done, that Star Wars would have this mythological arc. So it's not surprising that I and many others have based a lot of their life on the moral truths of Star Wars. Okay. Next paragraph. A Jedi religion would not be an overlay of an existing religion using the archetypal symbolism found in Star Wars film, yet an embracing of the common principles in all the world's religions. Anyone should be able to find their beliefs reflected in the path of the Jedi. Okay, so I was taking a universalist approach at this. So I had known that many religions found analogies for their religion in the Force, in Star Wars. Christians did it, Buddhists did it, Taoists did it. Basically, any religion out there, you could probably find a book or an article that says Star Wars teaches about our religion, and this is how. Later I even found this book called The Dharma of Star Wars, which taught Buddhist principles using Star Wars symbolism. So every religion can find an analogy in the very, let's admit it, the very generic spirituality that's found in Star Wars films. I no longer believe this. Jedi is a specific thing with specific values, specific intent. As my friend Opie McLeod of Jedi Living says, Jedi is a box. It's a big box, but there are things in the box and there are things outside the box. And if you want to be a Jedi, you got to be in the box and within the confines of the box. So not everyone can be a Jedi just by calling themselves that. Okay. Next paragraph. A Jedi religion would not be parodying the exact emulation of the fictional Jedi Knights from Star Wars films. Instead, it would be an adherence to the truth that the Jedi represent a mythological symbol. It would be a belief in the Force. It would be a dedication to the principles of truth, justice, and compassion. Okay, pretty good, Chris, from 2005. Pretty good. Not all the way there, but that's a good first step. As I mentioned in the book, just because a Jedi does a thing on the screen doesn't mean we can apply it to real life. I was a little bit away, but not far from getting to my belief that parts of the Jedi Path should have benefit and utility, and if they do not, they should be ejected as cruft. But pretty good for someone who was completely ignorant of what he was doing, as I was in 2005. Okay. So now, the Force. The Force was introduced to us by the true words of the fictional Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Force is an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us, it penetrates us, that binds the galaxy together. The implications of this can be discussed endlessly, so I will try to be succinct. The Force is the divine found in all things. The Force has no face, so any face one would sincerely place upon it becomes the true face of the Force to them. This is why so many people from different worldviews and religions see the familiar in the Force. They put it there, and it fits perfectly, because the Force and the other archetypes found in the Star Wars films are so universal. Insight into whatever your beliefs are is possible. One can see the Force as reality, a symbol, or a representation of something unknowable. The Force could be anything one holds sacred. Again, I think that's pretty good for a first step. As I discussed in the second video, what is the Force? In my commentary, like I gave a non-mystical application of the Force because that's where I was when I wrote the book 5 years ago. When I was first working on the book 5 years ago and wrote that chapter. And the Force is so big, we can only hold a piece of it at a time. We're never going to be able to see the whole thing. Everybody holds a different facet, and everybody's view of the Force is unique. So, pretty good. Pretty good. Not all the way there, but a good start. A good start. Christopher, good job. All right. Pat on the back for 15 years ago. Now, this is this next part is where it's going to get dicey. Physical expression. The path of the Jedi, to be complete, should have a physical application, a physical expression of the Jedi philosophy. The Jedi were not a monastic pursuit, removing themselves from society to better themselves. Rather, the Jedi participated in their society to make society the better for it. The Jedi were warriors and mediators. Those that follow the Jedi Path should be able to mediate disputes and misunderstandings physically if need be. Okay, yes, possibly, but I mean, anyways, I'm going to read on and keep going. You'll see how bad this gets. You'll see. What Morihei Ueshiba, the creator of Aikido, said about the role of the warrior, I think can apply to someone wanting to walk the path of a Jedi. And this is a quote from O-sensei. In real Budo, which means the way of the warrior, there are no enemies. Real Budo is the function of love. The way of the warrior is not to destroy and kill, but to foster life and continually create. Love is a divinity that can really protect us. Without love, nothing can flourish. Aikido is the manifestation of love. There is not a need for the creation of a Jedi art, and trying to emulate the swordplay seen in Star Wars films would be foolhardy and dangerous. Instead, there are already in existence arts and philosophies that can be applied to the Jedi philosophy. Any existing martial art, if applied with truth, justice, and compassion, which can be read as universal love, and will find itself transformed into a vehicle of peace. Okay, so this was an original idea. I addressed this in a previous video in a physical practice in the martial arts. That being a martial arts is not necessary. At the time I was coming to the Jedi Path, I thought, well, I'm already a black belt. I'm an instructor in Aikido. That makes me practically a Jedi already. And I couldn't be more wrong. Martial arts are not necessary to be a Jedi. Conflict resolution and conflict resolution skills are what is necessary to be a Jedi. This is diplomacy, not martial arts. I used to have this fantasy that I would be able to use my martial prowess to do great good, to just be a hero. I had this hero fantasy. And, in all my years, not once Has there even been an opportunity for me to use my martial arts to do good in the world? I mean, yeah, I trained hard, I got my black belt, I became an instructor, but never in my life was I ever in a situation where I used my martial arts to help someone. It just never happened. And there's an essay I wrote that there's more ways to be a warrior than playing with swords that addresses this on my website, JediPath.org. I'll put a link to that in the description below. And yeah, I mean, martial arts is good, but you got to do, if you do martial arts, you do Jedi. I did a whole video about that, so I'm not going to go too much more into that. But you're probably saying, "Oh, Chris, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. Martial arts is a Jedi. That's a natural fit." I mean, who could fault you for that? It's this next thing that I wrote. Okay, my dream would to be my dream would be to see Jedi out in society in a role much like the famous guardian angels in New York City. Not something to be undertaken lightly. I would hate to see self-proclaimed Jedi getting themselves hurt or worse. Training and approval from a qualified instructor, Jedi or not, would be paramount if one was to put their skills into practice in society. Again, oh, Chris. Oh, no. Oh, no. No, this is bad. No. Jedi are not vigilantes, and they shouldn't be. While self-defense and defense of others is a worthwhile goal, um, I would hate to see this as thinking that it's required from someone who calling themselves a Jedi, that we have to go and be this visible organization like the Guardian Angels in New York City. The Guardian Angels have a history. They were created when New York City was much more violent, and they were needed. They were needed. It was a necessary response. But when I wrote this, I was living in Casper, Wyoming, and there would be no need to ride on the recently introduced, they just got public transport like around 2005 in Casper. And for me and other Jedi to sit on the bus just in case something would go down. As far as I know, there's been no reports of violence on a bus in Casper, Wyoming. and the fantasy of that is just foolhardy, and yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, like if you needed to defend someone, by all means do that. I just don't want an organized group or thinking it's a Jedi thing to go and put oneself in harm's way in the defense of others. Indeed, it would be a very Jedi thing to do that, and I think some Jedi would be called to do that, but not organizationally. Individually, there's other organizations for self-defense and community defense. Join those. Don't put the Jedi name on it. Okay, so now we're wrapping up. Conclusion. Am I to base my life philosophies and actions on a piece of fiction? I find that I have done so for most of my life already. I find that many of the things I have learned in my life was motivated for me to be closer to my heroic ideal. This heroic ideal, colored by Jedi Knights and superheroes, alongside figures of myth and history, as well as contemporary figures. It is unlikely that I will ever be seen as the likes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Superman, or Dr. King, but I think it's the attempt at trying that is more important than reaching the summit. Okay, and thus ends my first step. Not so bad, some problems, but it was a first step. And what you see in this Jedi 101 material and new material that is coming out, watch this space. you'll see the sincere hard work I put in the 15 years since. I couldn't do it without my friends at California Jedi, the offline training organization I belong to, of which I was knighted in 2017 at the California Jedi Gathering. So, not so bad. I get my commentary on this, so that's for what you can see. That was my first step. I did not have this book, or anything like it when I was starting. I had to flounder on my own, and looking at the Jedi community at the time, which was primarily online, and many elements were very toxic, and so I wasn't getting a lot of benefit from the Jedi community at that time. I do get a lot of benefit from it now, as I have found healthy communities, and I'm helping to grow a healthy community at the Jedi Path Academy myself. So, a little peek behind the curtain. There are things I was wrong at, things I corrected, and I learned this by putting my ideas into practice and testing them. I just want to review something I said in the introduction video. Let me find it and written in the book so I get it right. So, how to become a Jedi in 3 simple steps. Step 1, acquire the knowledge about what it means to be a Jedi and decide what kind of Jedi you will be. This essay was my first attempt at that, but I continued on to step 2. Test your ideas in the real world by putting your philosophy in practice. And that I most certainly did. And that leads to step 3. Does your practice have benefit and utility for yourself and those within your sphere of influence? If no, go to step 1 and start over. If yes, go to step 1 and build on what works and make it better. And it was that step 3. There was some stuff that I got wrong. Then there were many false paths that just did not work when I put them to the test. And so I had to start over a few times. I did not have a mentor. I was doing this on my own. But I want things to be better for you, dear Jedi, who have now watched the entire series and are ready to take that first step into being a real-life Jedi and begin your training in earnest. I wanted to be a guide, have this material that I didn't have. And that's why I put this together, and that's why I put this video series together, to make it more accessible to many. And I hope it will benefit you. And I hope you find benefit. And I'm just going to sign off now. This is the end of the Jedi 101 series, your first step. I have more planned. Exciting, I hope. And you will see. Okay, stay tuned. I never say this, but I'm going to say this now because new things are coming. Please subscribe to my channel and get the updates to see the exciting project that comes next. Until then, may the Force guide you and protect you always.